When a cell gets too big, it must divide because of transportation issues and DNA overload.
After 1 to 2 hours, the cell cycle is completed, leaving 2 new cells, each with its own DNA.
Chromosomes, a mixture of DNA and proteins, are usually spread out in the nucleus as chromatin. Humans have 46 chromosomes in each cell, all of which need to replicate and get into for division.
The first event of the cell cycle is interphase. This phase consists of 3 subphases, G1, S, and G2. As G1 occurs, new cells and organelles and proteins are made. Next, in the S phase, the chromosomes are replicated and the DNA molecules and proteins are made. Lastly, during G2, the organelles and molecules for division are made.
Next comes the M phase, or more specific, mitosis. Mitosis is a division of the nucleus and DNA and includes 4 steps. This includes prophase, metaphase, anaphase, and telophase.
During prophase, the DNA condenses and begins to coil up. Next, the centrioles separate and go to opposite poles or opposite sides of the cell. The spindle that helps move the DNA begins to form the nuclear envelope, along with the nucleolus breaks down.
In metaphase, the chromosomes line up in the center of the cell. Each chromosome then attaches to a spindle fiber on both sides of the centromere.
Anaphase then takes over and the centromere splits apart. The chromatids can now be pulled to opposite poles or different sides of the cell.
Next, in telophase, the DNA uncoils and the spindle fibers break down. 2 nuclear envelopes form around the DNA while 2 nucleoluses form in the newly created nuclei. The cell membrane then pinches in, preparing the cell for cytokinesis.
Cytokinesis is the division of the cytoplasm. This step is different in animal cells and plant cells. In an animal cell, the cell membrane pinches in, forming 2 new cell membranes that divide the cytoplasm and organelles in half, while in a plant cell, a cell plate forms between the DNA. This allows for a new cell wall and cell membrane to form.
In conclusion, each parent cell allows for 2 daughter cells to be made. The parent and daughter cells have the same number of chromosomes and are genetically identical. The main purpose of mitosis is for growth and repair.
Meiosis is the cell division for gametes, eggs, or sperm. Every organism has 2 copies of each chromosome. One comes from the mother while the other comes from the father. These corresponding maternal sets of chromosomes are called homologous pairs of chromosomes.
There are diploid and haploid chromosomes. N equals a set of chromosomes. Diploid is a cell that has 2 sets of homologous chromosomes. Haploid is a cell that only has 1 set of chromosomes.
Meiosis is a reduction division, which means the number of chromosomes in a cell is halved when homologous pairs of chromosomes separate. 1 copy goes to each egg or sperm. Meiosis is divided into 2 stages, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2.
Meiosis 1 starts with interphase 1, where the chromosomes duplicate. Prophase 1 follows, and each chromosome pairs with its homologous chromosome. This forms a structure known as a tetrad.
Crossing over then happens. This is when the chromosomes are in a tetrad. Then they exchange parts with their chromosomes. For example, the light purple string in the model exchanges with the light green string. Crossing over exchanges alleles, forms of a gene, and makes a new combination of alleles in offspring, leading greater genetic variation.
In metaphase 1, homologous pairs line up together in the middle of the cell, spindle fibers attached to the chromosomes. Then anaphase 1 follows. During anaphase, homologous pairs are separated and spindle fibers pull chromosomes to opposite sides of the cell.
The last step of meiosis 1 is telophase, and cytokinesis happens afterwards. Nuclear membranes are formed, and 2 new cells are formed. As a result, 2 haploid daughter cells are formed. Each have half the number of chromosomes of the original cell.
Prophase 2 begins and each cell is haploid. It contains 1 set of chromosomes. Then metaphase 2 occurs and the chromosomes line up in a single file along the middle of the cell. Spindle fibers then attach to the centromeres. Anaphase 2 begins and sister chromatids separate and move to opposite ends of the cell. Then telophase 2 and cytokinesis take over and 4 haploid cells are formed. In males, 4 haploid sperm cells are formed, and then in females, most of the cytoplasm goes into 1 cell that becomes the egg, and 1 egg and 3 polar bodies are formed.